prepared to give the floor to the heart of the Western Balkans in the European Parliament, a colleague and dear friend that needs no introduction, Doris Pack. Before I give her the floor, though, I would like to say, after having heard the quite interesting analysis of Minister Milosavljević, that obviously there are two views on the issue with which he concluded his speech, and therefore each one fights for his view. At the same time, I would just remind everyone that we are going to enter in a week or so in a new round of negotiations with the hope and following constructive spirit to resolve the one issue that divides the two countries. Doris.
Thank you very much. Dear friends of Europe, dear friends of the Western Balkans, the question in the introduction of this panel are very similar to the ones we faced before all the enlargement, especially when we enlarged with Portugal, with Spain, with Greece, with Ireland, and for sure with the last 10, 12 countries. Each enlargement will be a challenge, but for both sides. Yes, indeed, there are different economical and political problems in the Southeast European countries. But this is also a fact in the EU. There are different economical and political problems in the EU countries. But the politicians in Southeast Europe should know that investors are looking on the entire region and not only on one country. So at least the Regional Cooperation Center still has a duty in helping to spread this reality throughout the SOE and help them in creating similar circumstances and fighting all the same diseases: corruption, lack of good judiciary, few administrative capacity, energy problems, environment problems, etc. What would be if we gave up the enlargement strategy? After 1996, it became the example of a good European foreign policy. We should go ahead and making it a total success. Otherwise, we would lose our credibility. We, in the European Union, we need a democratic, stable, peaceful, clean neighborhood in the middle of the EU. And this is where the Balkans lie. Their environment is ours. Their lack of a promising future for the young generation will be sooner or later our problem. The EU is not completed without the 7 countries in the Western Balkans. But let me underline, each of them should be treated after its own merits. No one should be made waiting for the neighbor. The EU member states, which are direct neighbors to the candidate countries, should act responsibly, and they should not forget that they also needed friendship and support before they entered the EU. Bilateral problems should not be an obstacle, as this never was the case in former enlargement. More than it did, the EU should invest in education. And in its last communication of the Commission on the enlargement, it shows that at least the Commission has understood what the European Parliament in nearly all resolutions in the last years asked for, namely investment in education. The signed SAA with all countries in the region And with Kosovo, we have the fact that the EULEX mission is taking their mandate there, shows our engagement. But it should be accompanied by new, fresh inputs in education, in civil society, and above all, in participation of the Southeast European countries in the EU programs. It should be really an input to put them in the program of lifelong learning, and it should not be half-hearted treated. The enlargement strategy should at least have the real objective of lifting the visa barriers as soon as possible. Everybody would need it, especially the small and medium enterprises, the young generation, and councillors and mayors. We need a network of economical and cultural aspects that may help to break the stale situation and create ground for reforms. The implication of the enlargement strategy on EU policy should bring us, as a referenda in France and Netherlands and Ireland did, to a better communication with our citizens. We have to find out the way to make them listening to us. But therefore we need to speak in an easily comprehensible manner and on topics which are of high interest for them. Unfortunately, a lot of national decision makers and trade unions and politicians and medias are not very helpful. Just to end, after the referendum in Ireland, which is now the bouc émissaire or the punching bag for all others which did not need a referendum, the EU will find a way out, and the Western Balkans are not the sufferer. They have their agenda and their own responsibility to reach the benchmark and at the end, the entry to the Union. The EU will continue to help them. Thank you.